One thing that's kind of gone overlooked in the wake of the hangover of Conor and Cowboy, but it is the discussion of Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor 3. I mean, I think we can all agree if we know anything about fighting, and we don't know that we're right, but we can agree that we would be right on the history of fighting, that we're going to the trilogy fight. That would be an accurate statement for us to at least predict, and actually a wiseful hypothesis for us to have. And a hypothesis is nothing more than a guess based on evidence, based on having information, not wild. So we could have a hypothesis that Nate versus Conor 3 is going to happen. And it also seems that the timing for that is really here. Look, I don't know personally what the pushback is on Conor versus Masvidal. I have my own guesses, which is Masvidal's got a belt, Kamaru has a belt. Masvidal has no opponent, Kamaru has no opponent. These guys got to fight. I don't strongly disagree with that. Where it gets a little confusing and you think, okay, maybe there's a little gamesmanship going on here. Maybe there's a little negotiating through the public going on here. Is with the talk about Conor versus Khabib. For me, that's a tough sell right now. Conor has said it's Conor season. We see the value in having Conor. We get it. I don't just mean the fun or the finances of it. I'm talking about the energy and the excitement, the storylines forming. He's a ranked guy now in 2 different weight classes. I mean, look, there's something there to having Conor. Khabib has an opponent, and that's not until April, which means Conor sits on his ass until April. If Khabib was to get the win, he then goes through Ramadan. He's not available until September. I just don't think that works. If Conor's in season right now, a word that he's using, by God, let's have the season. But that means he's got to be busy. Then what happened? You then have the what if factors. What if Tony beats Khabib? Does Tony go and fight Conor, or does Tony rematch Khabib? I don't have the answers to this, but I don't need them because that's so far down the road, and we got to do something with a few of the pieces today. Kamaru Usman deserves, as world champion, an opponent, a meaningful opponent that people want to see. Kamaru did his time not getting the spotlight. Usman now deserves, in a business and sport that deserve has nothing to do with it, he now deserves something good to happen to him. All right. Masvidal is all of a sudden one of the biggest stars in the entire sport right now. He also has an open dance card. And there's a little bit of a question mark on the entire BMF belt if that thing is actually retired or if that's going to be resurrected. And I think that Masvidal would have an opinion in that matter, and it's more than clear that he plans to defend the son of a bitch. That's why he's packing it around everywhere. He's taunting the boys. Who wants it? Come and get it. Great. I'm in. And I do think that belt should be up for grabs. That seemed to be something that just caught on really well, and if Masvidal wants to rub that in everybody's face and then put it on the line, I think that's sportsman. I like it. And then you've got Conor. What are you going to do with Conor as it pertains to Masvidal, as it pertains to Kamaru? But don't forget about Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz fought for the BMF belt. Many people thought was screwed because of the way the doctor stopped the fight and all of the cuts, and that would have stopped for the Tyson Fury fight. That would have been stopped if we were in Las Vegas. There was a little bit of a talking point here. Nate and Masvidal seemed to go on their own little merry way, but Nate is still sitting there against Conor. And by the way, they contested those fights at 170 pounds. And by the way, when you factor in the fact that if you bring in Nate, you put him with Conor, which we all believe is going to happen at some point, that means Masvidal can now still go fight Usman, solves that problem. If you're looking to buy some time during Conor's season, solves that problem too. It does solve that problem. I don't know what the resistance, the true, not what we're being told, true resistance of Kamaru Masvidal would be, I apologize, of Conor Masvidal would be, or Conor Usman. I don't know. But it would look as though you're going to have to consider also what I'm saying. The problem with Conor and Khabib is that cannot happen at the earliest until September. And by the way, even for it to happen then means Khabib has got to get through Tony. And if you're willing to take the gamble and throw the dice that that's going to happen, you're still waiting to September, but it's Conor season. It's Conor's season, and there's something special to him at 170 pounds. That's where he says he wants to be. That's where he just fought. And by the way, that's where he and Nate have already contested an MMA fight under the unified rules twice. So as things do start to settle and the hangover and the glow and the buzz, and the Masvidal in the front row wearing the Versace jacket, and Kamaru on the other side watching this fight, but as all these pieces start to settle, it does appear that the one guy who wasn't there, who wasn't heard, and who wasn't to be seen, which is Nate Diaz, it does now appear that his argument starts to be a little bit more compelling as well. And where does this all go? I think we do need to listen to Conor and Conor's requests on some level. Conor's saying I want it to be Conor's season. Conor's saying I want to do 3 more fights. And Conor's saying I want to fight at 170 pounds. I think that needs to be listened to. And guess who else agrees with me? Conor, who happened to tweet Nate Diaz 3 minutes before I sat down to do this piece and said, "Come on, Nathan, let's do it, part 3.